Dream Machine is a unique and immersive video game set in a post-apocalyptic world. The game follows the journey of a father and son who, after surviving an apocalyptic event, are living in an underground bunker. The father, driven by love and the need to maintain their sanity, creates a machine that allows you to control your dreams. The son, who was very young when they entered the bunker, uses the machine to experience the world before the event. Through these dream adventures, the son learns the skills he will need to eventually leave the bunker. Unbeknownst to the son, the father sacrifices his sleep and health each night to operate and troubleshoot the machine, allowing his son to live a new adventure in his dreams. Eventually, the son has to venture out of the bunker and witness the horrible state of the world. Dream Machine is a game of survival, sacrifice, and discovery. It's a testament to the power of love and the human spirit's resilience. Join us as we bring this captivating story to life.
All right. Welcome to day 6 of streaming the development of our new project currently called Dream Machine. I'm Joshua Blair, the CEO and founder of Icebreaker Games. And it looks like you guys just watched the new and pretty rough video. Kind of goes into detail what the Dream Machine project is about. It definitely identifies some of the concepts that we're going to be including into the game, but by all means, that's not going to be covering everything. I definitely recommend going over to the website as well. You can go to icebreakergames.com/streammachine, and there's a lot of concepts there, some concept art, a little bit more behind the scenes kind of details, and some additional information. And I also recommend going to our Discord channel and posting any comments, concerns, questions you guys got. Also, there will be polls and things that you guys can do there as well. So, yesterday we kind of left off very abruptly. But we were in the middle of working on our UI still for our menu. And we were working on the settings, actually. Mostly just kind of the placeholders. So I'm hoping today we can get more into the actual coding behind some of those settings. And even though I've done the coding on these concepts many times before, instead of just copying and pasting those scripts, those C# scripts from a different project, I'm going to show you guys a real easy way to do this for those of you who don't code very well or prefer not to code at all. There's some other options that we have now, not just Playmaker, which I talk about all the time in the series, but there is some other options as well. So we're gonna use a couple of those concepts to finalize some of the setting concepts, and we're gonna try to get through all of the UI elements, at least with the menu, and then maybe even get into a pause menu for the actual gameplay. We can manage to get through all that in a pretty decent time. Then the next step would be to possibly set up our character controller. Now, character controller is very complex. We could easily spend quite a few days setting that up. And it could also vary depending on the level too. We may have certain things that he can do in one dream but not in another. So it'll be interesting to see how we ended up. Now, look at where we left off. Looks like I said, we're going to select or click this button here, and it's going to pop up this language language pop up, which is going to show a bunch of different steps. The pop up itself, see here, each one of these flags are going to be a button as well. So we'll set that up. And then I also noticed that there is kind of a highlight. I think that's going to select which you're currently set to. So we may include this in the scripting as well. So jumping right in. First thing I noticed, so the issue with the pop-up, I had copied it from a different scene, and I didn't really like the way that they had it set up. So I'm going to kind of fix some of this stuff. I'm going to start off with this close button. That's fairly simple. And what we're going to do is just exit out of this actual pop-up here. So we're going to just disable that. And most likely we're going to probably have to turn back on the settings. I think that's the way we're going to have to do it. Of course, we'll test it and figure out if that's indeed the way we want to do it or not. Also, I did this backwards. Almost always you want to activate something on these on-click commands before you deactivate. So clicking this will activate the settings panel back, deactivate it. I think that's also in the pop-up here, we have all of these flags. It looks like it was in a grid layout group with this content size filter. And then each one of these has an image with a potential focus. Aside from the grid layout group, the content size fitter, I think I'm going to take most of this. All right. We have our glow up here, highlight frame, which I want to remember to add this to some of the other panels as well. I kind of like this. We got our text here, which is definitely too low. That up. Good. Our button that works. Now here, going to actually I'll just go ahead and stretch this to the size of this panel, pop-out panel. And I will go ahead and add grid layout group back here again. We are going to want to center it. Let's see, we got about 20 flags here. Like we could probably do 4 rows, 5. We'll see what that looks like. Be good. Then we're going to want to space these out, obviously. Rename this. They are going to be pretty much square, so thinking 200 by 200. A little big. We're going to cover up our text there. Might do 175 by 175. Middle center. Looks pretty good. I think we can afford a little bit of spacing on the X. Maybe about 25. Maybe a little bit of spacing. Y. We might also give it a little bit more padding on the top. We don't want it to run too close to the text here, the title of the panel. Now each one of these icons should be a button. But I think these focus for. I wanted to make sure they didn't overlap each other too much. Even though you're only going to have one on at a time, but I think this works. Now, you do want to set up on the settings panel. You're going to want to set it up where clicking this English button here is going to actually open up the language pop-up. So we just got to find that right here. It looks like the way they currently set it up is just the icon itself is a button. Not sure if I really like that. I think, for example, like this about section here. I mean, I think this entire concept here would be the same with this. But I think we should have the entire thing be the actual button. So I'm going to add the button to this base image here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I'll keep everything else there. I'm not sure exactly what we need this icon here for, but I definitely don't need a button on there. We're going to remove that. And then for the on click, we're really going to do here, we're going to activate that pop-up and then deactivate settings. Very similar to what we've done before, especially we did a bunch. So if we test this out, good. Go into settings. Now if we click on English, there we go. And then all of these be working. Of course, we would want to activate whatever that focus image is. But I think this fire button now works pretty good. I don't know what all these flags are, but we may want something that identifies what language that is. But I'm assuming also that people are going to recognize their flag and be like, okay, that's hopefully that's doesn't look like our graphic buttons are working. I might have disabled those yesterday and that we could create a script that handles most of that. All right, so with the language pop up, we can go ahead and make these buttons actually activate their focus frames. For those of you who didn't know, you can hold Alt when you do these drop down arrows. Opens it instead of manually doing it by one. Issue that we're gonna have here. In fact, maybe we don't want to do it this way now that I think about it. So when we click on any of these languages, we want it to activate its own focus frame, but we're also going to want it to deactivate any other focus frame in the scene. And one thing about these on-click events, I definitely do not like flooding them full of 20 different. So we're going to want to do that through code as well. Maybe that would be a good place to start for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into some of the easier ways to create C# scripts for Unity. If you're not very good at coding, or if you don't have very much experience with coding, or even if you just want to save time, this is going to be a much quicker version of doing it. I'm going to go ahead and show you my other screen here. And you can see I have pulled up ChatGPT. So with ChatGPT, I'm going to go ahead and select GPT-4, and I'm going to go ahead and enable the plugins. Not sure if we need that, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. If you don't have the paid version of ChatGPT, I highly recommend it. Use ChatGPT almost on a daily basis. It's a lifesaver. It's a game changer. It definitely makes making video games easy, especially help with ideas. If you need help with scripting, if you need help with creating dialogue. So for now, we're going to test out how to make a script that does exactly what. So the first thing I'm going to start off with, and the wording on this, can vary depending on how we do it. We may even have to adjust our prompt here a few times. Hopefully we get it right with the first try, but you never know. So here we're going to want to create a Unity C# script that attaches to a button that activates a child image and deactivates all other images in an array. I say the images are all called focus frame. Is that right? And our children of each button. Maybe give it more details. There are 20 buttons total. And all buttons are children of a game object. This might work, so let's give it a try. While it's running that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my main screen here. We do have a scripts folder. This was just a sample camera controller. And we're going to want to create a sharp script. I'm going to name it exactly the name that they came up with, ChatGPT, which they came up with button controller. Push enter, enter again, open it up in Visual Studio. Back on the other screen, I'm just going to copy the code that it came up with. And I'm going to go ahead and Control A to select all, Control V to paste, Control S to save. Looks like there's no errors. Just kind of glancing at this code. It also says here, tells you kind of how to use this. So the script first gets all the buttons that are children of the game object it is attached to. We go back into Unity. Don't have any errors. This layout group here is going to get the script, button controller script. And then when it's called, it's going to loop through all the buttons, find all the children called focus frame. If the button is the one that is clicked, it will activate the focus image. Otherwise, it will deactivate. We also have some assumptions, and I think that is indeed the case. So I think we are good to go. You may have gotten this and want to try this out here. Push play. Of course, we left this pop-up open, which is probably something we're going to want to put in the initialization as well. But just to test this out, you can see now clicking on all of these beautifully. But even though this script was probably fairly easy to write, I mean, we did it in a matter of minutes. So when it comes to game development, I'm all for say. Of course, we will want to add to the script later. We're gonna say, hey, you select this button, change the language, this, that, or this. You know, so we will get to that eventually. As of right now, I think this will work great. go ahead while we're thinking about it and fix the initialization playmaker. So we're going to want to deactivate language pop-up. Okay, to skip that. Looks pretty good. Settings, push, select whatever we want. We can exit out. Out again. I like it. Okay, so I think we're good with the language pop-up. Let's go ahead and set up this button here. What I'm thinking about, what I'm thinking to how to do this about button. Thinking it's just going to link to an outside website, and I'll just link it to the Icebreaker game. That might change everything else here in this game. For now, I think that. We're going to add a button to this, and then we're going to probably go back to ChatGPT. I think this is another way to really easy way to do this again. I'm just going to say, once again, we're going to do that, create a Unity C# script. Actually, we can go all the way, attaches to a button. That opens a website, or let's do a URL. Clicked. It would literally be that easy. And then you can see we have this title here, open URL. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to go back to Unity, create another C# script, paste in that title. Once it's done compiling, I'm going to go ahead and open that back up. I'll copy the code from ChatGPT, paste it in here. Now you can see I'm going to open up this URL and it's a public string. So what we'll do once we go back in Unity, we're going to go into that about button. We'll add that script. And notice since it's public, we can now enter in our own URL. So I'll copy the Icebreaker games /about. And good. Now let's push play, see if that works. I might also put a skip here to hurry this process up. And right away, you can see this popped up on my other screen, so it works. Easy. telling you, that GPT is a game changer. And yeah, it's only a few lines of code, but especially for people who don't code, all you gotta know is what you need, and then put it in ChatGPT in seconds. I'm gonna go ahead and do that also for the support. That's what's really nice. We can use this exact same script, but instead we're gonna change the URL to the contact page of my website. Icebreaker. No. Yeah, I guess maybe we'll go ahead and do that. Helps also to have a button attached to here. I'm gonna drag it up because I like the script to be towards the bottom. And even though I am pretty confident that this works, I will go ahead and test it. Better to test it now, I think, than find out it's not working later. Settings, support, and works. Good. We're making good progress here. Now, some of these volumes, volume itself can be almost a full day of streaming. So I think I'm gonna hold off on them for now, and we're gonna go ahead and keep plugging away on some of these easier ones. So the subtitles, we are gonna want this to work or be functional at some point. For now, we have no subtitles in the game. We have no dialogue. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and create a generic button, sorry, script that just toggles these on and off. Which I think we had already set that up. So maybe we don't need to do. We can go ahead and do the shadows one. That is another script that ChatGPT can help us out with. So over here, and we're going to create a Unity C# script that attaches to a. Now, technically, this is a button, even though we were calling it a toggle, but we have an on button and an off button. So I think it's fine attaching to button here. Actually, this one I think we should do a little bit more complex. So what we're gonna do is we're going to that attaches to a button, and when clicked, changes the image. Toggles on off image. This script also needs to toggle shadows Oh, not spelled today. Fine. On and off. And we'll need to save the setting to player prefs. When the game, let's see. We also need it to load from player prefs. And adjust the toggle image accordingly. Oh. That works. We're gonna go ahead and create that C# script. They called it toggle button. Not sure I like that naming convention, but for now I'll leave it. We're probably gonna want to change it to like shadow toggle. So right away it looks good. I don't see any errors. We do have some public concepts here that we're gonna have to apply. Now, probably gonna do this a little bit differently. So I think the what we can do is we can create or take this for example, this off switch. We go ahead and drag this script on here. We have the on version, the off version, and the player prefs key. So we have this on image and then we have this off image. For me, the best way to do this is going to be to create a button here. I don't need it to have an image. Just type in none. Don't need it to have any text. Other make it the size of the toggle here. I'm going to make the toggles children of this button. Add this toggle button script. And so now the sprite okay. Maybe a little bit more complex. I had assumed that they had this just be one image. They have it two different images. They have the handle here. So we would technically need to toggle our script here. We would need to not just toggle sprites, one sprite. We would sprites per. I think I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to change that. So what I'll do is I'll just say update toggle button to public objects are on and off instead of what I really like about ChatGPT is so it's gonna keep track of all these scripts that we've been working on. So as long as you mention, hey, use the most recent version of this, it's fairly easy for you to ask them or ask ChatGPT to update or change itself. I'm gonna go ahead and update this now. We have public objects instead here. We let it compile back to the button. See, now we have an on version. Now I'm just going to be using the as images. We don't need we do not need that script there. Here. Okay. So in theory, when we click this button here, not only will it save to this toggle state, but it's going to toggle this off, vice versa. And we're also going to want to make sure that shadows, that'll be interesting. Let's take a look, see what this looks like. We definitely have some shadows going on here, so hopefully it'll be easy. So right now shadows are turned on. Let's try to remove the button and re-edit. Got troubleshoot it a little bit. What I'm gonna try to do, if I just create a button here, period, right here, we want to see, is it clickable? Yep, clickable just fine. See, now it's not because we have this other. It's clickable. Go ahead and just remove alpha on it so you can't see it inside. Duplicate the here. I'm going to add that script on this. And that's how this works. Try moving. Disable this. So it's being clicked. Good sign. Generally move it back same area. Still being clicked. Okay. So it's not a problem with the button. We have a problem with our script. It's gonna happen time to time. Fine. Go ahead and delete this other button. For now, just so I can see that feedback, I'm going to increase the output. And then I'm going to go back over to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, hey, this is. I think I'll just do script is not working. The on image always going doesn't toggle off when it says. Also, while it's doing that, I might do a little bit of troubleshooting real quick. Okay. So one thing we probably forgot. This step 4 right here. Helps to read sometimes. Over here in the on click event, we're going to want to go down here to toggle button. And we're going to do on button click here. So basically, every time you click the button, it's going to run this click, which is then do whatever it needs. Thank you for reminding me. Shadows is off, on, off. Here looks like we look at the scene view here. Might be because we baked lighting. Shadows and lights are kind of baked in. They're gonna and with baked lighting on a scene like this, that isn't gonna really change. You know, baked lighting is the preferred way to. And we have a very dynamic scene that's constantly changing. Say we have a cycle, which probably what we're gonna do in this game. We can't bake in that because the lighting is gonna change. It's constantly gonna, the shadows change. Everything's gonna. So that is when we'll definitely whether or not script is particular scene picked it. It's gonna be a little bit may not be big to take a look at the script again real fast. So it does say in our quality settings. Take a look at fast. Project settings. Quality. Shadows. Yeah. Not sure. We're gonna be able to verify this. We may just have to trust ChatGPT. But we'll get back to it for sure. Something we're troubleshoot. Now, with this button, we no longer need this alpha. That. And then, did you notice we had it turned off when we pushed play, when we ended the game? So if the player prefs is working properly, and the script is working properly, we go back into the settings right now, it should be in the off. We turn that on, even though we're not using the apply button here, it's going to save that here. We exit out, go back in. Now it's going to be in. We're bypassing our apply altogether here, which is fine. Building one step at a time. On position now. So we actually have it remembering a setting. We're going to want it to remember all these. Okay, so now with the harder one, graphic, low, medium, high. Kind of been avoided a little bit. Yeah. Look. Head back over to chat. You tell it to create a new script. And we're going to just describe what this is going to do. So I have 3 different buttons. And each one's going to change the graphics of. It's also going to change the graphic. Gonna look, see how this. I think we changed it where it was just going to change the sprite course image. So, for example, we had that toggle on. That's fine. So, start typing this out here. Going to create a Unity C# script that will change the graphic quality of I. There will be 3 buttons. Have low, medium, high again. Button. Need change quality setting accordingly. Also, it need button right. Addition setting needs loaded try. Back over to Unity. creating this script. That GPU finished already. Paste it in here. Errors. So I'll save it. And it did give us some 4 more kind of conditions on how to use this script. So first thing is we're going to apply this quality setting to the parent. Notice how now we have low button, medium button. Go ahead and drag it in. Definitely need to fix the convention. And we also need our active right. Go back to the level. See here we had our active. Get it on event. So on this one, have run this quality settings control, and we're going to set quantity pretty much exact same. This one, but we're going to finally here. That should work. Look. Glitch in there. So now we are set on medium. It says that's where we were default to. Back to low. Man, you can see definitely a big difference. This back to medium. High. That's pretty good. That's a pretty complex script. See that pretty easy, pretty quickly. Got no errors with our first try. So looks like keep wanting to use that apply. Yeah, this is coming along pretty good here. So now we were able to get those going. We have all these 3 buttons working. We got shadows working. Subtitles was working, just it doesn't actually affect any subtitles. We are going to probably wait on the master and music stuff because we're going to create a mixer. I think pretty good on settings for trying to think of anything else. Of course, we could have done the social media buttons. I don't have Icebreaker games to change these accordingly if we wanted to. But these buttons are almost like the about and support. Be very easy to set up. And all we would really need is that same URL script. And then we would just need the graphic. It isn't too hard to get either. So I guess what got time. Go ahead and set those up. So I'll keep all three of them. Add the open URL to Facebook is the only one for now that we are going to sure keep the same. I'm going to copy that URL in. I did the event. No, did. Easy. Go ahead and remove. And then I don't know what else could we do. We can do our this is button. And what I'll do is just do a quick search for a kick on that needs to be a little bit more specific. I'd like one probably like this. I want it to be a little bit rounded, very similar to the ones that I already have in. I'm going to go ahead and right click on it and open this image in a new tab. Go ahead and save the image. And I'll go ahead and open this up in. Now, I usually don't pull my images off of Google. You can technically get in trouble doing that. Some of these images are copyrighted. But when it comes to a company like Kick, which you're advertising for them, or Facebook or Instagram or any social medias, they really don't care about you. Now, this particular one, this download.png needs to be exported. And, that. Now we can a couple different ways. Probably the most precise way maybe be to just select and select here. No, we're going to highlight. We're going to select inverse. And if we select inverse again, go to crop perfectly. I'll go ahead and re-import this as PNG. Place the go. Go back in our UI here folder, back immunity. I'm just gonna drag that, change it to right 2D UI. And on this particular one, which was to change the Twitter one. Does like we have some right. What we can do now easier, now that it's in the project, click show in Explorer and open that. What I'll do is I'll do that object selection again. And I'm gonna just extract it a little, probably we do another pixel just to make same thing. First, think that'll get rid of the white. We want to verify that. We can create a new layer here, make it black, drag that on top of it. See, there is no more. Also might clean 1 pixel. Go ahead, be able to just save for an X. Because we added that other layer, it now doesn't want to save it. .5. I'm gonna go ahead and just here and re-drag in. Better, where it's getting that white border on the bottom there. Try this again. Go and explore. This was supposed to be really easy. Open that. Let's in here. Drop that all the way up. That last pixel there. Could do the same action. Now we should just be able to click Control S, and it's going to automatically, because we didn't access that, because we didn't add that extra layer, it'll save it over that existing. Much more easier that way, I think. All right, so now we need another image. We already have the website, we have our Kik, we have our Facebook. I think we could do the YouTube channel. Might be the best way to do this. So I'll go back and do Cube icon. And once again, I'm going to want it very similar to that Instagram size. So I'm thinking something like this one here would work. I think that one works fine. I'm going to open the image in a new tab. Go ahead and save this. That in Photoshop. And export it. Icon. Way to do this would just be to go ahead and just crop it now. And also select this magic eraser. I like to turn up the tolerance pretty high on cases like this. We can also now select all available, crop that. We do have some, just 1 pixel again. Each side of that we could. I know you can do crop out all this. Oops, I keep doing. You can crop all the sides at the exact same time, but I do it this way just to more percent. I try to do them all at the same time. That looks good. Now I'll save that. Move this on in. Hopefully it looks good. It does. Change this button. YouTube. Good. And then I just do get my, well, copy this in. All right. Not gonna spend the time to test these right now. I think I'm good to go. Fine. Pretty much done with this settings panel. For everything that we can do at the moment. Of course, we're going to come back for subtitles, shadows, and we're going to dedicate probably at least one day, maybe more, to music, math, text concept. We don't even have any sounds in our game yet. Okay. That is what we click these buttons, yeah, we have visual feedback. We, at the moment, sound feedback. We can't really have test all these sliders with. So settings panel, I think the language panel, back to that. Now we are going to want something for this load game. This gets a lot more complex. Probably the most complex thing that we've done so far. And the issue behind that is we're gonna to load a game. I mean, we're gonna want to load everything, and currently we don't have much. So when you think about it, when we're gonna load this game, we're gonna want to know exactly where the player's at, his position, what level he's completed, where he's at in the story. We're gonna want to know every single item he's wearing, every type of weapon he has on him. We're gonna want to know how much mission, health. I mean, it's just there's gonna we're gonna have to say every single. So if we do anything now for the load, it's gonna be tweaked several seconds. Now I think we really it's just a panel very similar to settings. Just when we click the button, it goes into go some other kind of panel. Get the placeholder. So I am gonna go ahead and go back to that GUI kit that we had earlier, and I'm gonna go and look reviews here. See if there's anything that I like that kind of stands out as a cool concept. I do think it should be probably green. It should be just another pop. And then we will have to do the pause menu here too, but we'll worry about that one. And we could do something like this one. Missions. We could have something that just says saves, save one, and the time and date here. So we would fine tune this concept here to that's the best one. Are a lot of these concepts are set up for this missions one was probably the best example that we could go with here. So we'll go ahead and load that scene back up again. We already had it loaded here, or kind of not really loaded, but added to the scene. additive, so it's really convenient. We can just put it back in. Go down to reviews and all the missions. Move it into our actual. And we okay. Have this missions, this script that we definitely want to tell this up. And stretch it. Toggle this. Start that preview. Of course, we don't need all of this. Fine tune. So it's going to be the load game panel. I think this background's fine. Top bar is fine. We definitely are going to want this back button. That. Go ahead and set that up. As always, different action. One's going to need to turn itself off. Turn on. Have to be. First, we'll test this out. Now we can keep moving. Change this to game. We not need status group. That button. Have this here. I'm going to delete extra stuff. That. I do really like the this text glow concept. It doesn't necessarily apply here, but it is cool concept. Good. I'm just debating if we had something kind of like status. Trying to justify what this panel on the right side would be. It might just be gold framing at this point, which I mean kind of like overkill. Because kind of thinking button here, will have some of the information you need. So this would just be maybe an image, additional stats, that could pop up if you clicked on it. Do we really need that? Is it an awesome feature of the game? Is it going to make or break the game? Going to make people want to keep playing the game? So I'm just may not need this. May not even need this. This is actually a scroll, which is good. Because say how many get save games. So the more content duplicate, see it just added down here. And then you would be able to scroll through here. Of course, this is set up for touchscreen. Actual bar here, which is fine. We can. So let's do that. I think we what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a UI panel. Shrink it down. All right. This is going to be where the scrolling can go. I'm going to go ahead and add that scroll bar here. What I want. Let's expand it to the full size of the panel. Not going to need anything horizontal. Have our viewport and just like this. Drag this. Style this up a little bit. Don't need self. You also don't need full view here. Put the viewpoint here. Vertical. I want a vertical layout group here. Now, say hypothetically, this is our load game. If I double this up, every single time you save to a new game, or if you can see it, it's going to add another save down here. You would be able to scroll through this and fine. We're going to want to tailor the more to So, and at this point, I don't even know what we're going to want, but I will say load need coin here. Now, this particular image here, we could use this as a preview. Once again, I'm not sure how important that's actually going to be. But for now, kind of set it up that in mind. I'm going to change the graphic here. Like this. Now, this would be our game name. So for now, I'm just going to would be change the name of this. Sure why they have it as child. Save. So it could say something like save. I think for now, I'm just placeholder. I think that looks pretty good. Now, it's misleading. We won't actually be able to do anything right now. But I think this is working. Of course, this is an actual button. It's not going to do. Not a huge fan of this scroll bar showing up unless we absolutely need it. I want to say you don't need it to be elastic. Clamped is just fine. Don't need to scroll horizontal. That panel, load. All right. So on the actual title panel, have load game button here. Activate. Sorry, I just keep repeating myself over and over and over again, but man, some of this stuff gets pretty repetitive. And we're gonna we're also gonna go ahead and fix our playmaker visualization. Deactivate. Gotta try. I'm gonna go ahead and also try the new social media icons that we did. I'll go into settings here. Let's try the YouTube. That one works fine. Facebook is working. That one is good. Here. Okay. Have this button. It is working. Side scroll is showing up. Good. And if we click back, been good. Okay. Progress. Now, with the new game, we already have it set up where it loads the other level that we have, the bonus level. So I don't think any more UI that we really need in. Of course, we do want to do pause. We can go ahead and set that up. So we're going to want that. Go over to. I'm going to go ahead. Additive, quick. We will have to come back through here and now fine tune this. And we'll have to remember we also made changes in the scene that aren't present level 1 bunker. I also did forget concept. That's I don't want to spin this bed every time click new game order. Let's give that a try. Terrible, too difficult. All right. So in the title panel, have new game button and unlock this. You can see we have function that is pretty much just waiting to be clicked, and then once it's clicked, it's going to so before it loads the level, we're going to want it to do a new state. For those of you guys who don't know and haven't been watching the stream, this is called Playmaker. I recommend it definitely. It's in, I think it's like $60. Well worth a lot throughout the course. Now that I got that out of the way, you with basically we're going to start this. Go back to our scene. Here's our Dream Machine bed. Glass is separate. But we're gonna want to just rotate this up to a certain extent. Back down. Back. I think it'll be a cool little bit of a picture to look at from time to time. We'll see how that looks. Go ahead and create that animation. We're going to call it Dream Machine. I might just and always start off at about 2 seconds. That up. Now I do want I think it needs to open up a good amount, but we obviously do not want it. That like it. We may even find some cool sound that as well. Excuse me. So we have this animation. Let's do this a little bit differently. Then we have our animator. Let's leave our animator. Let's go over here to parameters, and what we do is we're going to call this open, and let's go ahead and create another one. And so I'm just going to create an empty state here. Call this idle. That's going to be. So we'll have a transition here to let open. Our condition is trigger open. And we're going to copy this. Go ahead and just call this close. I do -1 speed, which exact opposite. Since we're only going to close in the from this state, from another condition. Now, once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and go back to this idle state. We do have this set for, I'm going to finish this animation. And it's going to sit and wait. So I like, now all we have to do, we go back into manager here on our manager button. All we have to do is and of course, like everything else that script Playmaker has, use it as. So, okay, let's set this trigger. We do have to reference this by dragging it in. Then I do that I can keep track. Like drag over our trigger is notice here in type, you can type it in or you can select it. I really recommend selecting it just to avoid any. So once this is pressed, it's going to do this animation. Now we also are going to want it to wait that animation before it loads. Currently, we have the animation set at seconds. I'll go ahead and time here. And then let's clean this up by holding control. Putting the states, logical, organized view here. All right. Now, if we do new game, it opens, and it did take slightly longer for that lid to open. Why? We go back in later. When in this idle state, we had it set here as an exit time, so it's doing a loop. We do not need. Whenever that trigger condition is met, we want it to immediately just. Even though there is no technically animation here, it's going to pretend. So the same thing goes here. If it immediately goes back to close, it doesn't have to finish this animation. Game immediately does it, gets all the way to the top. Now I know this. We're opening the lid just to show a scene where the close. That's not going to be. We're gonna show something else. Probably a video. Since this is a brand new game, we're gonna want some kind of backstory, all that before we load. We do want to add that same functionality. So what we can do, copy SM, and I'm going to change the name of this. Oh, but so if we copy the load game button, have this button function. Don't have to change anything. Really nice, except probably the last. Don't need it to. You don't need it to load a level, and not even need it to. I think we can just activate. We can just activate this trigger. Load game. Copy this. Back button. Well, hopefully that made sense, guys. That once we actually put play, I So if we do load game, go back to our student. That's because we essentially disabled the FSM before it even. And then I also noticed our load game doesn't show much of the back. So background here. Right. Reduce the alpha a little too much. Yep. So now you'll definitely they're not that open up. We're gonna have we're actually gonna have to take this as well. Not a huge fan of creating the wait times for you to. So for now, this avoid. Remember this on click events that we had earlier? We're gonna want to put those in. This is gonna do it immediately. We're pretty much just turning two things on. Technically, we could put both in. Label as blue. What we were doing was we were deactivating idle panel, and we were activating. Test with this without having to. And I'm gonna go ahead and copy this component again. Go back to the back button. That will now close this. I'm going to deactivate. Also, we need that. Oh, go to load game. Forgot to turn off the loop. Go back. Right again. Always something, right? Okay. Back. That works. Now go into our bunk. Have a canvas. Add that. And what is that? Pause. Pause bin. Take a look at that. Here. You know, they spelled it wrong. Trust me, that's not me. Pretty sure it's Pause. Last time I checked. But yeah, we're gonna want to take some of these concepts here. So let's that. I'm also open this other scene, this demo scene. Replicate that, drag it. So this one. Reason the scaling is off. On it here. For now, I'm just gonna unload on PC. Just now, hypothetically, we were walking around here with our player controller and we hit pause button, would have this pop up. Good with that, except for the spelling. Don't think we title that all this correctly. Might even shrink down this glow or a little bit more trans. That work. Fine, that's fine. Now, have some buttons. We don't need. We're not going to have a restart. I'm just thinking about that real quick. And Like even when you're in the levels in the dream machine, there's gonna be a way for you to. So I don't think we need that. Also, give up is going to be just quit. We are gonna want to be able to load a game. So for now, we're gonna load. Setting. Cool. Okay. So there's this focus concept where what we'll do is when the mouse highlights those buttons, which means I also need to change the and then I don't think these are in. Are no. So let's go ahead and I always want to have quit on the outside there. We're actually gonna over zoom. Well, general quit's always on the far right. Zoom's pretty close to quit. And the very first dog is going. Change. I think I can find a cool icon for these. That I have a feeling save game's pretty standard. It's usually kind of like a disc computer. Not really seeing. Could make it be either this safe or maybe even the tent. Um, they work. Load game. We could maybe concept. So save game here. This is the focus one. Go ahead and do that. Not the greatest. I do really like this. But we'll definitely have that work in at the point. With load game, see that icon have the undo what load. Maybe we can find a better saved game point. And but I'm not seeing it. All right, so we have this pause. Gonna come up, shape. So we're gonna need a new manager. Create another empty. This particular manager eventually is gonna get much more in depth. This is gonna handle all the keys that. So that's pretty big, but we'll change it. And for now, the way I'm going to do it is we'll just do one FSM. Have this called idle, and we're gonna get a specific key. Whenever the player presses escape, we're gonna send an event called. And if we want pause to, I don't know how many people actually use that button board. That up. So it's gonna go off and do. First of all, it's gonna that pan. Pause panel. Eventually have multiple downs in here, not just pause. At some point this could. We're also gonna want to pause game time. think about it, you're in the middle of a fight and you push pause, you don't want to keep getting hit. So we're gonna look at so in general time 1 equals just your standard 100% scale normal time. Would want to set this. Now this is going to be hard to visualize or see currently. If you don't have anything, but let's just say, actually, even the screens back and forth through those. Okay. When we scale the time to 0, so we might actually even just pause. Now that we're doing, and then I think we should go ahead and head back to this. Now, there is several different ways to do it. Right now, I'm probably taking, but in general, if we pause the game, it's going to go back to the app. We can then technically push escape again. It's going to game again. But if we're already in a pause state and we're hitting escape, it is going to keep sending this action. It's going to keep doing these actions going to the state. But it's not actually going to break anything in the game. It's not going to actually affect. It's just going to be keep trying to act. So I think, at least in this particular circumstance, this is it's going to be in the actual pause menu panel here that we're going to need logic zoom, but very similar to the FSM. All this. We copy this zoom button. That in this one. I'm going to put pause. Now, it's going to be a little bit different. Move these. Say UI button on event. Create a new event. Or no, it's one. Deactivate pause panel. And back to now. So every time we push the resume button, it's going to. Did forget to marks. Now, the resume button is we'll say we haven't set up the focus that we're probably going to do based off of highlight. Maybe we'll have ChatGPT. So let's test this failure initialization. Very similar to what we had in the UC. And so far, I want to deactivate pause panel. Dragged it in. I'm gonna go play. And there's no pause. Okay. See the pause showed up. Notice the light isn't blinking anymore. Our screen is not changing. So perfectly as far as time goes. Boom. Oh, here. Not firing. Hear that in. We have this button here. This is a raycast target. It's the button. I'm gonna change the name of self. And that all looks good. What about this icon? And remove as target. And we did this. So to test this out, buttons can be pretty finicky. If you're not careful, I've had this problem. I create a new button. Button has no new logic. It would be images. So in theory, when we test this out, mark P, that tells me there's something. Let's have a bunch of lines. think this is actually this dimmed background image. Test target. Top of it. Pretty sure. Go back in. Okay. That. I had to add you can see now behind the dim. I just completely removed the panel itself. So a lot of times when you create a canvas on your level, it's gonna automatically this those up there. If I'm correct. How did it or if it did somehow maybe the button does work. Button work does. Good old event system. Don't need this button. Go ahead and all right, so we're coming in at about 2.5 hours right now. That's usually about the time that I will end the stream. I think this is a good place. Top. Didn't quite finish the Cosmo. I think we made some progress today. I do think we can finish this other stuff in the pause menu in our next stream. The quit, for example, we'll just maybe even give them an option quit to desktop, quit to the now with settings. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. We're going to want to access the exact same initial menu. But save game talked about before is going to be may not get to the. But for the most part, I think we're doing pretty good. We're making progress, and guys for watching this stream along. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and post them in the chat.